To welcome NBN Co and Mr. Stephen Rue and Chief Executive Officer. Would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, thank you very much, Senator. I will, and it will be short. So, good morning, everybody, and it is good to be back in Canberra with you today. And thank you again for allowing us to join via video the last time. Much appreciated. So, joining me this morning is Catherine Dyer, our Chief Operating Officer, and joining from actually Geraldton in West Australia is Gavin Williams, who's on the screen, who's our Chief Development Officer for Regional and Remote, and because of that he spends a lot of his time in regional Australia, and he is again today. So again, thank you for allowing him to stay in WA and do this via video. So I'll be brief, but let me just start with our last quarterly financial results. So these show that NBN is on track to achieve our full year guidance as outlined in our corporate plan. Up to the March quarter, we achieved revenue of $3.95 billion, or a 4% increase in the same period last year. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortisation was $2.7 billion, or up 20% on the prior corresponding 9-month period. These improvements are being driven through a programme of efficiencies and simplification, which is leading to reduced operating costs. Investments in the network are making higher wholesale download speeds available to millions more Australians and creating momentum in take-up of higher speed tier services. This has helped to lift our residential average revenue per user, or ARPU as we call it, to $47 for the reporting period. And we also achieved a 10% increase in business revenue compared to the prior corresponding 9-month period. There are now 8.5 million homes and businesses across Australia connected to the NBN network, and that's actually around 20 million people who rely on the network every day. More than 3/4 of these connections are on wholesale plans offering download speeds of 50 megabits per second or above, and 1 in 5 are on 100 megabit per second plans and above. We remain on track to make NBN's highest residential wholesale speed tiers available to 90% of the fixed line network by the end of 2025. But there is still more work to do if we're to keep pace with other countries, with access to high-speed broadband improving dramatically in recent years. In New Zealand, for example, 68% of residential broadband users are on 300 megabit per second plans. The European Union is consulting on a Gigabit Infrastructure Act to reduce costs for a faster rollout of gigabit networks, with the goal of making gigabit capability available to EU citizens and businesses by 2030. So to keep up, we need to monitor these global technology trends and continue to invest to improve our network capability. We also need to look at the drivers of demand in the market as fundamental changes take place in society and throughout the economy. Think data analytics, virtual reality, home security, new entertainment and streaming applications and devices, and of course artificial intelligence. This is all in addition to the huge changes we've already seen in working from home, online healthcare and education delivery. The opportunities are enormous, but the risk of falling behind is also very real. So in this context, we're looking at the evolution of all our technologies, including satellite. When the first custom-built Skymuster satellite was launched in 2015, it was cutting edge. 8 years later, we're seeing growing constellations of low Earth orbit satellites, or LEOs, which address a drawback of geostationary satellites, which is latency. As our satellites reach the midpoint of their life cycle, it's prudent for us to look at all options on the table for a replacement satellite strategy. This could include LEO technologies or more traditional geo-based satellites or other terrestrial-based technologies. In the meantime, NBN Skymuster satellite network remains a critical part of the technology mix, and we continue to improve this service through innovation and through our upgrade programme, where we are making strong progress. On the 28th of March, we migrated around 24,000 homes and businesses from the satellite footprint to the fixed wireless footprint for the first time. This also frees up capacity for our remaining satellite customers and improves performance of that service. We've also commenced a 3-month trial of a new Skymuster Plus product that is expected to deliver up to 100 megabit per second speeds with totally uncapped data plans. This is an exciting evolution of our Skymuster satellite applications to serve the bush, and we will have more news to share around these enhancements soon. I'd also want to touch on the delivery of another major network upgrade, which is the Fibre Connect programme. Nearly 60% of the fixed line footprint is now gigabit capable, and this is growing quickly. The Fibre Connect programme is seeing millions more Australians gaining access to fibre to the premise, or FTTP. It's also encouraging to see that our most active RSPs are making progress in migrating their FTTN base. This illustrates the strong demand that can be generated for upgrades when actively promoted to customers. So lastly, I'd like to touch on our progress towards a special access undertaking with the industry and the ACCC. The Special Access Undertaking, or the SAU, has always been an iterative process designed to bring industry together and get the best outcomes for everybody. Regulatory certainty for industry and an efficient, reliable and affordable national broadband network which is financially sustainable with capacity for ongoing network investments. We appreciate that this has been running for quite some time now, but we are confident that the process is now on the home stretch and the outstanding issues are close to being resolved. A sustainable long-term pricing framework will not only benefit the telecommunications industry, but will also support the future digital needs of all Australians. So, Chair, my team and I are now happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will start with Senator Henderson.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mr Rue, good morning to you and your team. I would like to ask you, firstly, as a very strong advocate for rural and regional Australians when it comes to connectivity and equity, I would like to ask you about your satellite business, how your satellite business is going. On the 5th of May, the Financial Review reported that Starlink has told the government and major telco companies it has signed some 120,000 Australian customers, 20,000 more than in February, which of course is putting more pressure on your outdated technology that you offer in your satellite service. Can you explain to the committee whether you're concerned about this situation? It's clear that Elon Musk's Starlink is providing a superior service, both in terms of technology and also cost now. The costing of these plans has come down dramatically, at least currently. So could you please explain to the committee your concerns about your falling customer base
we'd be delighted.
And what plans you have in place?
Absolutely, and that's actually why Mr Williams, who's on the video link, is in charge of this business, which is why we were keen to have him here today. And thank you for allowing it to be by video, by the way. Gavin, do you want to touch on the satellite business and all your plans, please?
Sure, thanks for the question, Senator. Can I just confirm that you can hear me?
We can.
Yes, we can.
Senator, you're right.
If you could just state your name and your position just for the Hansard, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, it's Gavin Williams. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Regional Remote at NBN Co. Our satellite business for our consumer products peaked with a customer base of around 112,000 through at the tail end of COVID. The last public reporting, we declare our numbers on a weekly basis, was about 95,000. So that's a drop of about 17,000 from its peak. And I'd characterise that as a range of factors that include a natural normalisation, if you like, post elevated demand from COVID, and customers deciding to utilise other technologies such as from the expansion of mobile services and the expansion of mobile plans and other technologies, as you say, Senator, such as Starlink. We're going through a process of significant upgrade to our non-fixed line services, as Mr Rue pointed out, that includes the expansion of our fixed wireless network in terms of its capabilities and speed, but also its geographic coverage, such that fewer customers will be within the satellite footprint. All of these things mean that we have an opportunity to elevate the customer experience for our satellite customers. And the feedback we get, as we've consistently received on satellite, is a call for more data and uncapped data.
Sorry to cut in here, but because we've got limited time. But farmers and those living in so many regional communities are saying it's chalk and cheese. Yeah. Starlink is so far superior that it's making the NBN service, the NBN satellite service, just completely irrelevant. What is the NBN doing about that?
Thanks, Senator. I was just getting to the point. NBN has a value proposition that includes free access to the service, free installs, and we maintain the service with our sovereign capability. The feedback that we get from our customers is that they want higher. One of the key differences of Starlink is that they offer uncapped data. And that's what we're working on through the trial that Mr. Rue spoke to. And the trial so far has covered more than 10,000 customers. It's giving us a great opportunity to look at the service that we can deliver and the implications on our network. And the reason that we're able to do that and keep in pace with our customer demand is it's a combination of things that includes the significant upgrade that we're doing in terms of our fixed wireless expansion and the deloading of the satellite. So we look forward to making more announcements about with the conclusion of that trial in the near term.
I think, Senator, if you could add to that a large part of our fibre to the premise upgrade is in regional Australia, plus the fixed wireless program, plus the enhancements that Mr. Williams talked to in the satellite, and the opportunity to move many, in fact 120,000 base off the satellite onto our fixed wireless network. So all of that is significant investment in regional Australia. I can assure you it's top of our mind.
And I think it's important to make the point too, Senator, that the prices that are offered by Skymuster are significantly lower than offer prices significantly lower than some of the alternatives. So we offer plans that are as low as $35 a month. So affordability is a real issue that we hear about.
I would put to you though that is not a driver of business, because if you're paying $35 a month and you're getting such poor broadband service compared to what Starlink can deliver, that is not a driver of your business, and we're seeing NBN bleeding thousands upon thousands of customers as a result. So I guess I am, very concerned about the NBN's plans for rural and regional Australia. I understand that under our government we invested very heavily in upgrading the fixed wireless network, which of course has freed up space on your satellite and has given the opportunity for a better experience on satellite. But it's looking forward, it's looking pretty grim for NBN, certainly NBN's satellite service.
Well,
I'm directing that more to Mr. Rue.
Well, maybe Gavin can talk to that.
Sorry, Mr. Rue, can you...
So I just said Gavin can talk to that.
Oh, you're looking... Sorry, I thought you were pointing to the chair.
I'm not. I wouldn't do that, Senator. My point to Gavin...
I want the chair to answer that question.
Well, Chair, if you want to answer, no, seriously.
We get enough spin from the government. Not that I'm reflecting on the chair.
Apologies. My wife also tells me not to point. So, Gavin,
yeah,
sorry,
we're looking at different screens for anyone who is reading the Hansard and wondering what just went on.
Apologies.
So, look, very short and sharp, Mr. Rue.
Yep.
I would actually want to direct this question to you as the Chief Executive
Well,
Officer. This is a substantial challenge for NBN.
As I said, Senator, we've actually, as I said in my remarks, when the satellite was launched, it was leading edge. There's no doubt that technology has moved on over time. In fact, that's why we continue to invest so much across our whole network. The opportunity of the fixed wireless expansion is to actually deload some of the beams within the satellite, and that's why Mr. Williams's team has been trialling the ability to have 100 megabit per second plans and uncapped plans as well. We have done that trial. We are working through how we could implement further plans on the satellite, and we're looking at various ways in which we can serve regional Australia going forward, which is a complicated exercise. But if you put all the technologies available, we are looking at ways in which we can continue to enhance services for regional Australia, and as I said, terrestrial ways, as well as the potential to use low orbit satellites, as well as geostationary.
Are you planning to launch your own low Earth orbit satellite anytime soon?
There's many options that we're working through at this stage. I've no plans at this stage I don't have a plan I can tell you exactly at this stage, Senator, but we're looking at all options on the table.
Okay, look, I'm going to leave. You've raised the issue of pricing, and
yeah, sure.
I'm obviously concerned about your attempts to push people from the 50 meg to the 100 meg plans, and of course, the ACCC has effectively knocked back that pricing plan. But I am going to leave that to my colleagues to ask about, because I need to duck into another committee. But thank you very much both for your time today.
No, thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Henderson. Senator Pocock.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for your time here.
Morning, Senator.
Firstly, as we know, NBN upgrades are quite rare in the ACT, so thank you for your work on Casey in the Gungahlin area.
Yep.
Residents there are now applying through their provider for upgrades. I really appreciate all the work you did on that. We've talked before in person and at estimates about some of the challenges in the ACT fitting into your business model, given the setup with poles being on private land, and also some of the rock that you encounter. And note that in the 1 million new connections announced in February this year, only 3,088 ACT premises were included. I'm just wondering if you've had any approaches from the ACT government to try and work out some sort of arrangement or contribution from them to make it available to more people in the ACT.
Yeah, I think Catherine should go through a little bit more about the ACT, just to give you some more information. But in terms of your specific question, our Will Irving, who's our head of strategy, has recently met with actually the ACT chief. When I say recently, it was in 2022 with the ACT chief minister, and in late 2021 with the chief digital officer, and that did involve our plans and discussions around about what the ACT government could do as well. We've obviously engaged with various councils, as you know, and I think you invited us to or encouraged us to join a meeting as well with councils next month, I think, which we're going to attend. So we do have regular meetings with various bodies of government in the ACT, but there's been no funding forthcoming to assist us at this stage.
Has there been any continuation of discussion since the meeting with the Chief Minister? Well,
with the chief digital officer, and then on with the councils. That's been the ongoing engagement, and obviously my team will deal with various officials within the ACT government on an ad hoc basis.
So there's not currently any negotiation or working up a plan.
No, there's not.
With the ACT government.
No, there's not.
That's something that you have done in the past with different jurisdictions? Yeah,
so I personally have put a lot of time into speaking with state government, from premiers through to relevant ministers, through to departments, to outline our $300 million co-investment fund that we announced, I think it was September 2020, I think, whereby we have a fund, if you will, that we will work with state governments to co-invest with. Essentially that we will invest where we can make just a very small return, and then whatever the funding shortfall is, that would request the state government to think about what they would like to do. Okay. There's been varied responses across the country to that, from a large arrangements with the Victorian government has been the largest one we've done. But in each state there has been investment made, in some case with the Commonwealth as well, actually. Okay. So that has been explained to the Chief Minister here, and we are arms open if there are arrangements we could get to assist in further upgrades in the ACT.
Okay, thank you. So just finally, just so I'm clear, in February, since the announcement that saw ACT receiving 0.3% of the upgrades. Has the Chief Minister or anyone from the ACT government contacted you about?
Haven't contacted me, no, Senator.
Okay.
It's my understanding, Mr. Rue, that there has been a follow-up meeting that's been scheduled with the Chief Minister's office in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. That's in the diary?
Pardon?
That's locked in?
According to the note I've just received, it's been scheduled and locked in.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for your work. Cheers. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Cadell.
Thanks. Going back onto satellite regional coverage again, I think probably Mr. Williams. It's challenging out there in the world, and I get exactly what you say. We launched the best at the time. Technology has moved on, and you're midlife in your satellites, so there'll be something again in 10...
Yeah, basically the satellites run out of fuel around about the end of the decade, Senator.
Right. And this is what we're getting to, the different solutions. I live not a 2,500 people village. I had NBN fixed wired. But when it rains, I can't stand the rain. My internet went. I've had to go to satellite, right, as a thing. But that reliability and the speeds you're getting, love the speed. And I'm with a competitor, I must say, at the moment. But you're talking about an unmetered service, but it's still metered for streaming video and for VPNs on the website, 69...
The current plan is, Gavin, do you want to talk to the upgraded plan you're looking at, please?
Yeah, so current plan is metered between 4 p.m. and midnight, and that applies to streaming video and VPN. That is true. That's a development we launched to market around about just under a year ago. Yep. Since then, we've identified a couple of ways to improve the service in two important areas. The first is we've determined that we can increase the speed capability of our terminals. And we've worked with our suppliers to prove that out and to get warranty support for that kind of performance. That means we can offer more speed. And significantly, the consistent feedback I get from customers is to avoid data anxiety, we need uncapped plans. So those two elements are what we've been trialling, and the trial encompasses more than 10,000 customers at present. The offer of uncapped data for all internet usage and speed bursts of up to 100 megabits per second. You add that to the fact that our Skymuster service is installed for $0 from NBN, no matter where you are across the country. And when the service goes bung, if it needs a truck roll, NBN covers that. You add to that the fact that we offer a range of plans that retail for from as low as $35. So I'm very excited about being able to conduct this trial, and we'll have more to say about where we take that soon.
I'm not even remote. I'm 25 minutes south of Newcastle. I'm regional at best. It's that anxiety of having the ability all of the time, and I think, you know, the different technologies where we're talking about direct wireless, we're talking about all these things coming in. What is the process? We don't know what the technology will be in these satellites. Are we looking at everything to replace regional remote coverage? Does it need to be satellites, or because the coverage needs to be there? Yep.
Yeah, sorry, you go, Gavin.
It's a great point, Senator, and it's incumbent on NBN to look at all options, to provide the best service that we can within an appropriate economic envelope. Technology, there's been more change in the last 3 years in the satellite industry than the last 30 years. So it is absolutely incumbent on us to look at all options. And they could include further expansion of our fixed wireless service. As we've said in previous responses, we're expanding the coverage geographically up to 50%. But there's 120,000 more customers that were previously on our satellite footprint that we'll be taking onto our fixed wireless footprint. That's one potential. And then there's new satellite technologies, low Earth orbit technologies that we'll be looking at and as to their efficacy, as Mr. Rue said in his opening statements. But there's significant developments in other types of satellite service as well. So, Senator, I think somewhat long-winded answer is we don't. It's it's almost like it's not a prudent time to lock a solution at this point because there is so much change, and there will be a range of technologies I think that will apply at the appropriate time.
One area again is on the marketing of the NBN products. Yeah. I can't go to a regional airport without seeing a Starlink 199 poster on the wall. I can't open a social media thing without that advertising. I am yet to see a proactive Skymuster thing where I go. What is the plan to fight back market share? If we've got a product range we're happy of, we think's competitive, what's the fight to fight that market share?
We have undertaken some marketing campaigns in the second half of the last calendar year. Senator, I'm disappointed you didn't see them. I have to speak to a marketing agency and try and figure that out. One of my team is just up north of Newcastle and has seen some of the advertising. It's something that we certainly contemplate. I mean, we've got to consider value for money and also the fact that we're not ultimately a retailer.
Yep.
So we provide incentives for our retailers to conduct marketing, and I know I've received some marketing material directly from a number of them. So there's a number of those. First order is to support our retailers in their marketing pursuits, because ultimately that's who you'd sign up to. And from time to time, we'll conduct some direct marketing activities as well. And of course, we're out there in regional Australia through our NBN local team, speaking with community groups, chambers of commerce, councils, to get awareness out. And I think there's a point behind your point that arming customers with the right information is really important. And I'll never diss a customer for choosing one of our competitors as long as they're armed with the right information. But there's a lot of misinformation out there. And it's not a victimless crime, because we see so often customers in regional Australia buying expensive services, paying a lot of money that they don't have, when there's perfectly good services available with NBN satellite-based technologies.
And that's what it comes down to. There is, for me, it's reliability first. I have still a copper NBN network at home, and that's primary. As I think I raised last time, the boys in the ping speed getting shot on World of Tanks or Call of Duty because they've got a 900 ping is not their favourite thing, so we use that as primary one. But the certainty of having these guys don't understand it.
He's talking about gaming.
I'm aware what he's talking about. I just don't understand it.
But the need to have it there. I mean, my low Earth satellite, I think we're pinging 900. I think we're pinging 42 on the copper network. But my 100 MBS thing delivers only 42. It delivers same ping, same megabits per second to the ship. My Starlink does me 140 Mbps, but I'm pinging 900.
Yeah.
So there's always a trade-off. But aren't we just seeing this is the world as it happens? It's just technology is overcoming and leaping and leaping.
It is, Senator, and I know the chair will want me not to answer this very long time, because it's my favourite subject, but the world is changing before our eyes, and the use of technology is increasing exponentially. And that's why our upgrade programme is so important. And that's why the questions you're asking is so important. And what our first job was to ensure that everybody had ubiquitous broadband. And remember, a lot of places had nothing many years ago. So the satellite has served a tremendous purpose for so many people across the country. But technology advances, and that's why that's why we're working on the fibre, the more fibre bill, but also the actual FTTP service itself we're expanding, which is what's called XGS-PON. We're investing in what's called distributed architecture in HFC. We're investing in the cable network. We're investing in fixed wireless, and we're looking as technology advances. And as Mr. Williams said, we need to have a strategic plan for the bits that are left, if you will. But technology is advancing, so we have to pick the right time to do that. And that's why we're expanding our current products. There's no doubt about that. And we'll look at what then, through the rest of the decade, how we ensure that everybody gets access that they need for the ever-changing world that we live in.
You spoke about New Zealand going so many percent on 300 megabits per second.
Yeah.
Is a thing. in the future, there will always be more. And my house, I think, when we started, I grew up, I was remote control, there was one screen.
That's right.
Now in my current house, I think 2 internet connections, 4.2 million screens, as far as I can tell in the house, something, it's ridiculous. What is the usual data load of an average house nowadays? What's the average speed required? Does an average house require much more than 100 megabits per second now for anything?
At the amount of the data growth is about 20% per annum, we're saying,
Yeah.
and that's going to continue. But the important thing is that new applications are also going to be created with the investment in technology and the investment in fibre networks all around the world. We're going to see new applications come around. So at the moment, I mean, it depends on your household, but there's no doubt 100 megabits per second service gives a much better customer experience than a 50 megabit per second service. And some people who are running, a particular business from home or working from home in a particular industry, they will need more than that 100 megabits per second. And that's why, as I mentioned in my plans, in my opening statement, you'll see that places like the European Union are talking about gigabit nations, and that's what we're going to see. So the problem with infrastructure, Senator, is you've got to plan years in advance.
Yeah.
Because it takes, and particularly when you live in Australia, where the distances are so vast and our cities are so widespread as well, you've got to plan in advance and think ahead. And all your questions are absolutely the right questions around the satellite service, around regional Australia, about the bits of the copper network that we're not currently in plan to replace. We as a nation have to continue to advance our technology for all the reasons you say.
And last question on this point. Telstra recently launched a low satellite product. Is that in partnership with someone? And is that... I haven't seen the pricing of that yet. Is that a competitor to you, or is it more a competitor to Starlink?
Yeah, Gavin, do you want to talk? We don't typically talk around Telstra's plans. To tell you the truth, that's really a question for Telstra.
Yeah, okay,
but they've basically discussed a strategic partnership with another
OneWeb, isn't it?
Another low orbit satellite. Who was it with?
OneWeb, I think.
OneWeb. Thank you. It was OneWeb. Thank you. What they plan to do with that, you'll have to ask Telstra.
Okay, happy with that. Thank you, Chair, for the time being. I'll some more later.
Thank you, Senator Cadell. We'll go to Senator Payman.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just take it off where Senator Cadell left off. He stole my question. But I'm going to break every rule and ask, how is NBN engaging with the market to inform itself of the technical capabilities low Earth orbit satellites have and the role they will play in delivering connectivity solutions and addressing the complicated disaster, particularly in rural and regional Australia?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what Gavin, do you want to talk to more broadly how we engage with regional and rural Australia? And did you talk about disaster? Were you asking about disasters there as well?
Yes, just improving connectivity solutions.
Yeah, so Gavin, do you want to talk about what your NBN local team do in particular, perhaps?
Yes, I mean, we've increased over time our focus beyond city limits, and we're in the stage now of we're upgrading regional Australia. Mr. Rue's alluded to the point around the massive fiberisation in regional Australia. We've talked about the fixed wireless upgrade program that's going to deliver speeds of new high-speed tiers of up to 325 megabits per second across 85% of that footprint, and the massive expansion of the fixed wireless network, and consequently the speeds and capability of our satellite product. And this is done in concert with stakeholders, so key groups like the Regional, Rural and Remote Communications Coalition that has groupings from as diverse as the Isolated Children's Parents Association through to the National Farmers Federation and Better Internet for Regional, Rural and Remote. So very structured programs of engagement on that score. But we have relationships with chambers of commerce, with regional development authorities and with councils right across the country. We have people embedded across 22 regions that we've defined across regional Australia. As one example, I'm learning a lot about what we're doing well and what we can do better up here in Geraldton right now. So that informs about how customers are using and frustrations they might have with technology, and it informs our development plans, and that includes then working with our vendors across the mobility, across satellite, and we keep abreast of all of the developments from those ecosystems. And we'll undertake anywhere from less formal discussions with those vendors through to more semi-formal processes, through to very prescribed procurement processes to avail ourselves of appropriate technology from time to time.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I've got a whole lot of love for Geraldton. Do you see LEO satellites as potentially providing direct-to-mobile handset services in Australia for both data and voice?
I mean, it's an area that we don't study particularly heavily because it's more something for the mobility providers. I mean, the first I don't think I can give you sort of expert evidence on that, but my observation of the industry, it is an interesting area. I note some of the work that Apple have been doing in the near term around emergency access, and there's plenty of activity from varying levels of proprietary standards to open standards in the mix, and some interesting deals being done, particularly in the US. So the development of technologies, it's always A, interesting, and B, it's good for regional Australia when it can benefit. So we look forward to seeing the evolution of those kind of applications.
Yeah, no, definitely. Sounds like a change is going to come. I'd like to now talk about the Skymuster services, as you mentioned in your opening statement. Yeah. How has the government's investment of $480 million in fixed wireless services assisted in releasing capacity on NBN satellite services?
I'll be very brief on this, because I think we talked about some of this before, and I'll just sort of reinforce some of the points I made. So the $480 million is enabling us to lift the speed capability on average and deliver new high-speed tiers on fixed wireless network. But importantly, it's also letting us expand the footprint to take what would otherwise be satellite coverage into fixed wireless coverage to the tune of about 120,000 homes and businesses. Therefore, we have fewer homes and businesses we have to plan to serve on our satellite service, which enables us to deliver bigger plans. And we did that this time last year by expanding the times that customers have, or decreasing the times that customers have metered data. And we're trialling now the opportunity to have completely uncapped data for all internet needs and increase speeds to up to 100 megabits per second. The feedback we got from customers through this trial, over 10,000 customers, is incredibly encouraging and positive. And we look forward to making some announcements soon on where we take that.
Can you help us understand exactly what the criteria being used to evaluate the success of the trial?
We run a range. Well, we talk to our retailers. Part of conducting the trial, our customers gave permission to actually be guinea pigs and be contacted by an agency on our behalf. So that was one of the benefits of the more restricted kind of trial phase, and we've been able to get some quite structured feedback as a consequence.
Great. And how will the increased capacity on the satellite network improve the user experience for customers in regional and remote Australia in particular?
More data means that customers don't really need to contemplate, should I watch it? Can I watch a streaming video now, or will that impact my ability to do some other kind of application later? Now, the current product only meters between 4 p.m. and midnight on streaming video and virtual private network, but it still, leaves, what I call data anxiety in customers' minds. This just takes that away. Through the trial, we've seen a roughly 35% increase in usage across the day, but importantly, a 45% increase in data utilised between that peak period of between 4 p.m. and midnight. So it demonstrates that customers are using their service more, and that could be for entertainment, such as streaming video. It could be for other applications, such as, let's think about learning through using YouTube as a learning aid through that period as well. So to give unfettered access to the social and economic benefits that access to fast and reliable broadband can deliver, I think it has the potential to make a significant difference to customers in the bush.
Yeah, I'm sure the customers will welcome it with open arms. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, I think this will be more applicable to you. I just wanted to have a quick discussion around the school student broadband initiative and get an update of how that's going. The government made a promise that it'll provide 30,000 families who have no internet at home with free broadband for a year. Could you update us on how many services have been activated and when that started?
I haven't got that information to hand, sorry, Senator, but I can take that on notice unless...
Can we possibly get some information? Because, I mean, it does apply with the NBN because the NBN is supposed to be providing a rebate via participating internet providers.
I'll get that information as soon as I can.
Okay. Do you want to maybe go to someone else if you can and see if we can get some information before we finish this session?
Okay.
Is that all right?
Sure.
I just think it'd be good to get an update.
Yeah, not a problem. We will go to Senator Cadell.
Thank you. Coming back to sign-ups, satellites is increasingly competitive in that space. How are we going on brownfield sites? I noticed the number of connections isn't increasing. It's actually weekly rollout figures are dropping. Are we still competitive in brownfield sites, or is there competitors, or where are we going there?
Yeah, we are, Senator. I mean, obviously the period of a large migration of customers onto the network is concluded, because once the network was built, as an 18-month period, people took a choice to join or not. So the large ramp up in subscribers that we saw is obviously no longer the case. We're now in the case, as you quite rightly point out, in a competitive environment. We've been talking a lot about satellite, but actually it's competitive in the sense of products like fixed wireless access, products like mobile products, but also in the new development space. So there are, when you look at the weekly numbers, just be a little careful, because it can go up and down depending on, at the end of the month there's often what's called a clean-up of records, and that can lead to some dips and then rises again. But you will see that our subscribers have grown over this year, and that's in part because of new developments that get built, but it's also as customers come onto our network. But so the answer to your question is our product competitive? Absolutely. Do we though need to compete on a day-to-day basis for customers? Absolutely. The fibre upgrade program clearly is an opportunity for customers to receive higher speeds. People out there, I think you were talking about a copper service you have that gets 42 megabits per second was what you were saying. That could be your Wi-Fi, by the way, but you never know. But
I know, I've actually got a patch panel. I'm pretty wired.
I'm not sure how to respond to I'm pretty wired.
I can advise just to sort of smile and move on to another complicated task.
We've got a rack and a patch.
But your point around ensuring that we absolutely are competitive or market ourselves, demonstrate ourselves, and continue to invest in network is critical, Senator. But we are winning new developments that are being built. Yep. We do have campaigns all the time where we go to customers who win back customers or customers who've never connected. We clearly have to do that through the retailers. And we ensure that you'll increasingly hear us talk about higher speeds, more reliability that we're providing, that will encourage people to come onto NBN network or upgrade their services.
So we don't think we're at peak connections at the moment? There's still growth?
Oh, we will still grow, Senator. I mean, there's for a start, there are new developments being continued to be built in the network. In the country, that will add to our network. And over time, as data grows, which it will, there is no better service than a fixed line service, because it provides the capacity that's needed. And with the challenges for a network like fixed wireless or satellite is the need to ongoing put capacity in. It's very hard to put capacity in satellites. You've got to keep launching more and more and more satellites. So over time, those services will be good for a cohort of low-use customers. But as data grows, a majority of Australians will need a fixed line network, and that's what, or will need an ongoing fixed wireless network that we keep investing in, and that will provide the services. So, Senator, we will keep growing. That doesn't mean we're not in a competitive space.
No. Talking about all this new technology, but I had contact from a client going back to old school, was after faster speeds, and they're looking at Ethernet over first mile. That's going back. So are we still flexible, looking at all these different bundling options and everything?
Yeah, we still have. We have a. I think what you're talking about was Enterprise Ethernet, the service that we have. So we do have a direct. So that's basically a dedicated fibre service that's pulled from the exchange all the way to typically a business premise that provides a dedicated line, provides symmetrical speeds, provides.
It's over copper. It's bundled copper instead of fibre.
Well, sorry, we don't do bundled copper, but we do this. We do fibre, dedicated fibre services. So part of our challenge now is to keep developing our product set going forward to serve our customers and to keep competitive too.
So the comment before, and this might be a specific number that we may need to refer to. You said you've got more subscribers now than we had at the beginning of the financial year?
Yes, we do.
And as a proportion, example only because I don't know numbers, do we have 5% more but the market's grown 10% more, or are we keeping pace with overall connections in the growth of the market?
Well, the market grows in a sense of the number of premises in Australia, I guess. So I'd have to do the math on that.
I want to see if NBN's growing at the rate of the market or below.
We're probably broadly stable this year is probably the best. I don't think it's broadly stable, I would suggest, without doing the math in my head.
No, that's fine. If we can come back on notice and just see how we're going versus
market
growth,
we can do that.
It'd be great. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Hughes.
Thank you. If I can just come back, Minister, to the school student broadband initiative. We managed to get any information from the Minister's office or the department even giving us an idea of how many families are being connected?
I'm sorry, Senator Hughes, I don't have that information at the moment, but I will try and get it to you as quickly and as possible, but it hasn't come to hand yet.
Okay. I think I am back where I started. Just, Mr. Rue, before, because we'll have to put all of these on notice then.
I apologise.
Yeah, no. I'm just a bit surprised that we don't have any information on what was a promise and a program for 30,000 families who don't have internet. Yet we don't seem to know if any of them have it yet.
Yeah, it's a Labor Party commitment.
Data, surely.
Well,
I'm trying to.
If maybe the Minister's office will get us some information.
Yeah.
Mr. Rowland, are you watching?
Hello.
Cooey.
Mr. Has the NBN had any engagement with this program? Because the Minister let us know that you're providing the rebate via providing internet providers.
Yeah,
there's about 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously the department has been driving a lot of the engagement on this clearly, but so what has taken place is a series of charities have been engaged. So, for example, Smith Family, St Vincent's de Paul, Catholic Education Australia have been engaged by the department to nominate families, if you will, that may be eligible for this particular service.
Is there anyone from the department here then that can give us a bit of information on this? I mean, it just seems surprising that we don't have any information being provided.
What
it's like no one knows this program exists.
So I know that there have been many thousands, in fact, of potential families through these charities actually identified. Then it goes through a series of For example, if they're already connected, they're not eligible for the service.
Yeah.
And then it's a case of contacting those families and asking them would they like to effectively receive a voucher, which they would then provide that to the retailer. When the retailer signs up, then we always say, we need to the connection, and then we need to provide the rebate back to the retailer.
So how many of these rebates, or how many of these payments have you made?
I don't. I also, sorry, I don't have that. I have the general outline of the scheme here, but I don't have that detail. I'm sorry.
But you have started making payments?
Oh,
There have been payments made. There are families connected.
There have been connections made. Absolutely. I don't have it with me here, Senator, but we do have. There has been connections made. Absolutely.
Okay. Right.
And sorry, and therefore rebates paid. Yes.
Yeah. I'm just a bit flabbergasted that we have no information whatsoever on this program that's been provided. I would have thought it was a pretty important one, particularly with the cost of living crisis at the moment that Middle Australia and so many families are facing, that we can't get any information, but we will put them on notice.
Thank you, Senator Hughes. And for our final warm afterglow, we'll go to Senator Cadell.
When we're talking lots of different kinds, I'm new to government, I've only been here 11 months and learning my way. Lots of very similar agencies and groups doing very similar things. And when we're talking about black spots yesterday and mobile black spots, is there integration into your system, with where you're doing things, where you're putting tech, with mobile black spot programs, with the providers? Are they ever linking into your systems to do, a whole communication strategy fixed for areas in rural Australia, or is it just they're missing you, there's just one part here, one part there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously mobile service is not something we provide. We can provide some fibre for those if that's so wish, but it's not really a service that's particularly used. So what happens is that I can't talk for the Department of the Minister's Office on this because I have just one part of the communication job. But when we talk to state governments and when they think about funding arrangements, they do think about mobile capability, and they also think about whether it be a satellite to fixed wireless move or some more funding for more fibre, if you will. So in that sense, certainly at a state government level, there is some, and they often provide some funding. There is a thought about how is it best for communities to be served. But specifically on this programme, Senator, I'm afraid you're asking the wrong person.
No, that's fine. It's just lots of people doing similar things. Like we're rolling out infrastructure for connected cars, for charging points and stuff like that. We'll need comms, backhaul, all these sorts of things. I think there's maybe a chance
but again, our particular service is to a home or a business, and therefore is a different type of service, I guess, whereas the black spot programme can often be a highway. I don't need to tell you.
No, thanks all. Thanks very much. That's all, Chair.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you for coming along this morning. I'd like to thank the two people in the room, Ms Dyer, Mr Rue, and of course...
Ms Dyer did very well today, I thought.
Oh, I'm sorry to see that.
Did one question.
Yes, she did.
One question.
And thank you to Mr Williams online.
Thanks for joining, Gavin from Geraldton. Thank you.
We will let you go, and I will call the officers from the Classification Board.
Thank you.